Let's go! Oh my god, I'm so excited. So, what's up, you guys? My name is Mark Perrett with Gridbook Percussion. I'm very grateful for you guys.
It's 7 o'clock.
It's 7 o'clock. So every hour, my computer tells me what hour it is. So my sense of urgency every hour is brought up a notch. So it looks like we got some people coming into the room. While we're doing this, I just want to make sure like you guys can hear me. Can you guys hear me? Is it good? Does it need to be turned up or turned down, or is it like, this is great? Turn it up. All right, I'm talking. How's the volume now? Once upon a time, there was a basket full of bread. Can you guys hear me? Up more. Hello, hello. So it's funny, I'm talking, but everyone's like this. Okay, all right. So I got a little response. Cool. Is there no adult supervision? You guys are just running amok. All right, sweet. So, is Mr. Barone here? Okay, all right. That's sweet. What up, dude?
How's it going, man?
Hey, it's going great. This is fantastic, by the way.
Can you see them okay? Or?
I can see them great. So I have a tiny gap where there's no people on the right side of my screen, and then there's people on the left side of my screen that I can't see. Yeah, that just fixed it. Excellent. Yeah, great job. Great job, you guys. Okay, sweet. So, are you guys ready to go?
Yes.
Okay, because I'm ready just to jump right into it. Okay, cool. So, for those of you who do not know who I am, my name is Mark Perrett. I'm the co-founder of a percussion education brand called Gridbook Percussion. Raise your hand if you know of Gridbook. You've heard of Gridbook before. All right, sweet. Oh man, that's so awesome. Cool. So today we're wanting to talk about how to practice, and for some people that might be a super obvious thing. Like, I know how to practice. I sit down, I practice. End of story. For other people, it's like, I keep practicing, but I don't really know what I'm doing. And I don't feel like I'm getting better at either a rate that's fast enough for my own personal standards or a rate that's faster than the people around me. Like, have you guys ever had a point in your performance where you feel that other people around you are getting better, but you've kind of hit a plateau? Has that ever happened before to anybody? No? You guys are all good? Okay, sweet. So check it out. Like, don't be afraid. Like, this is a super chill setting, and I think this should be more of a conversation than like a lecture. So when you go to college and there's 300 people in the room, and the instructor or the teacher's talking, you're just kind of sitting there absorbing information, writing down, maybe playing Minecraft on your laptop. And that's not what this is. I want this to be a conversation. So if I ask you guys a question, don't be afraid to be like, yo, that's me right here. Boom. If you have any questions along the way, raise your hand and ask. And I want this to be highly valuable for all of you individually. So don't think all right, cool, well, everybody else is listening, but this ain't really for me. If the more you engage with this and the more personal questions you can ask me, the better this will be for you. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right, cool. The very beginning part of knowing how to practice and having a great flow within your life to practice is to have a great setup. And we call the setup a practice station. So, do any of you have a way to take notes? If you have a phone, maybe you could write stuff down. So if you have a way to take notes, whenever you attend any type of lecture or you're listening to something to learn, taking notes is a really great way for you to connect with information that connects with you personally. So if at any point I say something where you're like, oh, okay, I didn't really think about that, write it down, because there's no way that you'll be able to remember every single thing that was said, and that's normally a good thing. So if you have your phone, I mean, I'm real big on writing in my memo pad on my phone, unless you guys have to lock up your phones before rehearsal or something. But it's cool. If you're over there in the back typing, I know you're not texting somebody, you're writing notes. So just so you know, 100% please write notes if you hear anything that connects with you, or if you want to write a question down to ask later. All right, sweet. So the setup is super important. Having your practice station set up is really important. And what I have behind me here, can you guys see this all right? Yes? Okay. 2 people. That's great. So the main thing that you want to have set up is, obviously, you want your pad and you want some type of stand. And what I used to do when I didn't know how important this was is I would just put my pad either in my lap, and I would just drum in my lap, at the edge of my bed. I would get on my knees and just drum on my bed. And I would also go in the bathroom and just drum in the bathroom. If you are capable and able to get a stand, that's one of the best things that you can have, because a big rule about greatness, especially in the marching arts, is practice how you want to perform. Have you guys ever heard that before?
Yes.
So practice how you want to perform. That means that in your practice time, raise your hand if the majority of your individual practice time happens at your house, in a practice room, in your house, in the garage, or in your bedroom. One person? Okay. All right, sweet. So that's normally where you are. You're in a place that's not at school with your performance drum. You're usually practicing on a pad. The most important thing that you want to do is get the pad set to the height of your performance instrument. So for flat drums, for snares and tenors, you guys want to make sure that you measure or understand the ratio of your body to your drum and set your pad to the height of where your drum would be if it was on the harness. If you don't do that, then the details of where you're drumming, you're going to ingrain a lot of habits at that angle, and then you're going to go and put your drum on, and it's going to be completely different from your practice time. What you want in practice, and this goes with anything that you want to excel in, especially in the performing arts, you want to have your practice time, individual practice time, your rehearsal time that you do with your group, and the show all be exactly the same. Obviously, there's going to be differences, but you want to do your best to make those as close as possible. So one of the ways we do that is by having the pad set up to your performance instrument height. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to have a stand. I know some people have stands because they own drum sets. A drum set stand is too low to have a pad on without a drum. So you normally want to either get an extension, like this stand has an extender piece that turned my drum set stand into a marching stand that allows me to have the drum up. If you play bass drum, then you want to use match grip and set the pad to the height of where you would have it if you were playing match grip snare drum, so a flat head. And then I'm not sure what technique you guys use, but whatever technique you use on your drum, that needs to be the same technique that you're using on the pad. Next thing you want to do is make sure that you are practicing in front of a mirror. And what that does is allows you to see yourself. I can't tell you how many times I have students who are like, man, I practice all the time. I'm like, okay, are you noticing these 10 things that are happening? And they're like, oh no, I didn't even realize I was doing that. Are you practicing in front of a mirror and looking at yourself? No. Okay. So that's one of the biggest things is when you play, there's only so much that you can see from your first person perspective. You want to be able to see yourself from a different angle. And don't be afraid to move around too. Like have the mirror in front of you and this is what you look like this way. Turn your angles and look down your sticks and do all kinds of different directions so you can see what you look like from all different directions. And don't just look at yourself and drum. Find inconsistencies in your playing and then write those down. And you should have some type of practice journal that, you know, the mirror is a tool for growth, but it's not going to be the best tool unless you are actually using it to document what you're doing, writing it down, and then next time you get into your practice session, you're opening that notebook up and looking at all the things you wrote down from looking in the mirror and finding those inconsistencies. The next part of that, and this kind of goes along with that, looking in a mirror can only take you so far. The next thing you would want to do is have some type of tripod and some type of connector or camera where you can actually record yourself. Now, for many years, I would just prop my phone up between like, you know, a teddy bear and a box of tissues and figure it out. But this is one of the best things that I ever got. And I think these are like $30 on Amazon. You can find pretty inexpensive tripods. It's just a regular camera tripod. And then you can get phone mounts for pretty cheap too. But having a tripod and a phone mount will allow you to just grab your phone, throw it on there, and record yourself. A couple really beneficial things about that. Number one, have you guys ever watched a drumming video before?
Yes.
Okay. You guys are like this. Yes. So, all right, you guys have watched the drumming video. Excellent. When you're watching the video, do you ever judge what's happening? Are you ever like, oh, that was fire? Or, that's pretty dirty? You guys ever judge while you're watching, right? So guess what? When you watch videos of yourself, the same thing happens. You're like, wow, this is really dirty. Okay, I need to like learn my taps and okay, I need to do this. And that's just another way of self-documentation so you can have those notes for later. And I don't know how busy your life is, but I know that when I was in high school, it was like Armageddon. Like you have band and you have your practice schedule. If you have any extracurriculars, you have your schoolwork, social life, jobs. There's all kinds of stuff going on. It's going to be hard for you to remember the exact little thing you need to do with your pinky a week later. So that's why having some type of practice journal with documentation of what you're doing helps, because then you sit down, you open up what you need to work on, and boom, it's right there. You just read it and you're like, oh yeah, that's right. This is what I'm going to focus on and isolate my practice time with. Cool. So the next part of that is obviously make sure you have your sticks. You want to have some type of literature or book or show music or whatever thing you're working on. and then a metronome. I know a lot of people use their phone for the metronome, but it's really nice. And honestly, one of the favorite parts of practice for me is it is an escape from the outside world. So if you have your phone on you, notifications are ringing in, that is going to distract you from what you're doing. So it's nice to have a standalone metronome. The metronome that I have here, this is a DB90. Does anyone have one of these? Nobody has a DB90? Okay, well, maybe someday. There's also a DB60, which is will do everything that you'll need it to do, but getting a standalone metronome that its only job is to be a metronome is really great. You always want to have something that will give you a lot of subdivisions. If you are using your phone, I have a metronome app that I like to use, and it is called Impulse. Does anyone have the Impulse app? Nobody has? All right, man, I'm just spitting hot fire to you guys right now. So the Impulse app allows you to pick any partial variations. It's by partials, so you just click in the amount of partials that you want, and it will play all the subdivisions, and you can select different sounds for different beats. So it's really cool. Like if you want a metronome that's doing 16th notes, but then has the accent on the and count, you can just click and customize your own metronome. So just on the topic of a metronome, I also recommend the Ensemble Music app. Have you guys ever used that before? The Ensemble app on your phone? Okay. So the Ensemble app, you can actually input the music that you're playing, and it will spit out an MP3 for you. So if there's some type of music and you write it down, you can input it, and then it'll actually spit out the audio file that you can then bring the tempo up and bring the tempo down and practice with that. But we'll get into tempo thresholds in a little bit. All right, cool. So that is really the main part of having a great practice station. And you want to try to set it up in a place that you don't have to move it, or maybe it's something where you like move the pad out of the way and then you bring it back. But having it set up makes it really easy for you to, get home from school, throw your backpack down, and then get a couple reps in. One of the number one questions that I get all the time is, how many hours a day should I practice? Have you guys ever wondered that before? Like, you're planning out your time and you wonder, like, how much should I actually be practicing? Is there a secret number? Do you guys ever wonder about that? Okay, so the answer is, if you really want to be great, there is no magic number. You fill the in-between spaces of your life with drumming. And so for some people, that's not really what you're trying to do. But for others, it's the only way that you're going to keep up with the other people who are doing that. Like for me, especially like when I was in high school, you didn't have to tell me to practice. I woke up in the morning and I practiced a little bit before I got on the bus, and then I practiced on the bus, and everyone was like hitting me with water bottles and trying to make me stop. And then I would get to school and I would practice, before class, and then in between classes I was practicing, and during lunch I was practicing, and then I would obviously be practicing during band class, and then I would go home, I'd do homework, and then I would practice a little bit before I went to bed. And so I was just living my lifestyle of just trying to get better. That was the main thing I was trying to do. So it was really hard for other people to compete with what I was doing because I was just filling all of my time with that. Now, that can get overbearing. You might be like, I love drumming, but like I don't really love drumming that much. And you have to know yourself. You have to know where you're at. And I think everything in life goes in seasons. So right now you're in season to need to be great for your performance. So right now you would be practicing a lot. And then you would switch your practice schedule maybe on winter break or in between outdoor and indoor, and you just have to throttle your practice time. But that's a huge thing, is like understanding your schedule, and we'll actually do a schedule breakdown in a second. So any questions so far? All right, cool. The next is guidelines for efficient practice. Basically, let's see what I have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 6 main points of the guidelines for efficient practice. One is make a schedule and follow it. If all you're doing is sitting down and just working on a thing that you happen to think of in the moment every time you sit down to practice, then you're going to have just kind of like random results. And if you want very specific results in what you're doing, you have to have very specific schedules and goals towards what you're trying to do. And that's the next thing. Set specific goals is number 2. So let's say that you are having trouble with a part in your show. You would need to look at what that is, try to break down what the skill set is. Maybe it's like a paradiddle part that's kind of messing you up over the bar line. Understand what that is, and then find a supplemental exercise that will help you with paradiddles. Then look at your schedule, look at your practice times, and then say, all right, cool, in this block, I'm going to practice paradiddles at these tempos. And then the next block, I'll practice this. And then you look at your weekly schedule and you can say, cool, by the end of the week, I will have worked on these things, and now you have something to follow. Rather than, and raise your hand if this has ever happened to you, you sit down, you start practicing, and about 5 minutes in, you're playing like the Blue Coats opener or some cool thing that like you learned. Anybody? That probably happens to everybody. Like you sit down and all of a sudden, next thing you know, you're playing that cool thing that like you finally learned how to do. And that's cool. You do need that time to like have fun, because the number 1 rule is you got to have fun while you're doing this. That's the main reason why we do this. But you also, like, drumming is really fun, but drumming really well is the most fun. And the way you drum really well is by practicing. And the way that you drum really well faster is you have a schedule that you follow when you practice. So number 3 is have a plan that goes along with setting specific goals. Have a plan. Another is get out of your comfort zone and attack your weaknesses. One of the things I see all the time is you practice, but you only practice the things you're good at. And so it's like, after a while, you get really good at those things, but the things you're not really good at, you shy away from, and then you never actually get good at those things. So first, isolate what am I not good at, and if you don't know, I am sure that your teachers will tell you. Write them down. And then in your practice time, sit down and go straight to your inconsistencies. What am I not great at? Boom, that's what I'm going to work on. I'm going to take the tempo really slow, and I'm going to really try to get better at this. That way you have a more well-rounded approach to what you're doing. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Cool. And then the next thing is use tempo thresholds. Do you guys know what tempo thresholds are? Anybody? No? Okay. So a tempo threshold, and maybe you know it, but you just don't know it as that term. A tempo threshold is when you start at a slow tempo and then play that a bunch of times. Once you feel like you have it solid at that tempo, then you bump up the metronome like 2 to 5 beats per minute, and then you practice at that tempo and get that comfortable. And then when you're done with that, you bump it up 2 to 5 beats per minute and you practice that. Has anyone ever gone through that process?
Yes.
Okay, a couple of you guys? Sweet. So that's a really great way to train your hands to work on something. My metaphor for that is like weightlifting. You know, you don't just go in and bench 225. You go in and you start at a lower weight. You start working at higher weights. You find your max weight. Then next time you go in, you start at a slightly lower weight. You work your way through the max weight to the next weight. And so, very similar thing here is using tempo thresholds, and that has to be part of this. This all works together. So you're in your scheduled time. You know you're working on that paradiddle part from the show. You take the tempo down and you work your tempo thresholds all the way up to a max tempo. You write that tempo down, and what I mean by max tempo is not just how fast can I play this. It's how fast can I play this with great quality. And you have to definitely take your magnifying glass and zoom it way in. Because I know people who are like, oh, yep, I practiced. And I got it all the way up to 210 BPM. What's good? And I'm like, okay, play it at 210. And they're like, all right, sweet. And I'm like, all right, hold up. Let's take it down. All right, nope, hold on. All right, okay, let's take it down. Let's take it down. Actually, 90 BPM is as fast as you can play it. And they're like, okay. So that's a huge thing is making sure. And I like to say this: make sure you're measuring in millimeters, not in feet. So when you're playing, don't measure it by like, can I make it through this? Measure it by what's the standard? What's the quality standard of what I need to do? And then am I checking all the boxes of quality as I work my tempo up? And then last thing, which we talked about, is record your progress and take notes. So anytime that you can write down what you need to work on, like literally, I'm going to do this clinic, I'm going to end, and then I'm going to think about how could I have made this clinic better for you guys? And I'm going to write down my weaknesses, like, oh, I talked a little too long, I cracked a little too many jokes, and I'm going to write down things, and that's just a part of my process, which if you guys like anything that you've seen from Gridbook, I'm constantly looking at how we do what we do, watching videos over and over again, even after they've been posted, reading comments, and I'm always trying to critique myself and what I'm doing. And if you take that approach, like all of these approaches that we have are transferable to anything else that you want to do in life. So not only will you be getting better at drumming, you'll be getting better at a system that is going to help you in life. And I actually didn't realize how much my learning how to practice helped me until I got out of music. Like, I graduated from high school, I went to community college and actually got into architecture, and I went all the way through my schooling and got a master's degree in architecture, and ended up like best of my class, got Alpha Rho Chi, indicted into the architecture fraternity. Like, there was a lot of accolades that happened from that, and I think that a big part of that is from all the time that I spent in drum corps and all the time that I spent drumming. I just applied what I learned in my practice time to my studies, and that helped big time. So let's go back to making a schedule and following it. How many of you have ever made, like actually sat down and looked at exactly what your schedule looks like, and you know every single hour of every single day throughout your week? Couple of people? Okay. All right, sweet. So the biggest thing, how about this? A better question, I think. Raise your hand if you know for a fact that you need some help or you need a little work on time management. Okay. All right. All of you. All right. So, does anyone want me? So, when I do my private lessons, this right here is actually very similar to how my private lessons go down. It's me on one side, student on the other, and we talk. I watch people play. Um, so, I don't know if. Well, let's see. We're doing really good on time. So, is there anyone that would like me to take them through my process of what I would normally do in a time management session? Like, I'll take you through. Okay, there was a hand up in the back there first. So, back corner. Yeah, what's your name?
Austin?
Austin?
Yeah.
Okay, Austin, why don't you come sit up front here? Oh,
Okay.
deboed. Hold on, that wasn't who I thought it was. You,
Oh.
your boy next to you raised his hand first. Yeah, you.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, you.
Oh.
My man was like, "Skirt." I can't even see the other guy. That's funny. You raised your hand, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, nice lot riot shirt.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, that was funny. It was like, is there anyone that wants me to run them through this? And you were like, boom. So that was great. And then your boy was like, that's great. Okay, so basically what I'm going to do, and let's see how we can do this. I'm going to share my screen. And let me see if you guys can see this. Okay. Can you see my screen right now?
Yes. Yeah.
So let's get a table going. I'm in Pages. So if you want to make something like this, you can actually just use any Word document. Cool. So there are 7 days in a week. So we want, oops, wrong one. 7 cells. And actually, probably, well, let's just check this out. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Okay, so this might be a little awkward because you're like here in front of all your people. But cool. So this right here is what a typical week would look like. Hold on, let me go back to phone. And so any of you who are wanting to work on time management should definitely have something like this in your life where you can see your whole week at once. And so let me see if I can actually do this. Boom. All right, cool. So I can at least see you a little bit here. All right, can you guys still see the screen here?
Yeah.
All right, sweet. So just kind of a general rundown of your week. What I'm going to ask you is we're going to talk about each day individually, and you just give me what you do within those days, starting with I wake up, and then I go to school, and then I do this, and then I do that, and then I go to sleep. And we're going to do that throughout the day. Does that make sense? Okay, so what do your Sundays look like?
I wake up.
Wake up. Good. What happens after you wake up?
I eat breakfast.
Food. Okay, next.
Then I do homework usually in the morning.
Homework block. Great. Okay.
I I either go out or do stuff with my family.
Fun. All right. And what about that?
I eat dinner.
Food again. Okay.
And then I'll go to sleep.
Yeah.
Sleep. That's a good day right there. Okay. So now let's get a little more detailed. I want to make this a little smaller. There we go. Okay, so what time are we talking? What time are you waking up?
5:30.
AM? This is a PM or AM situation?
Yeah.
5? All right, that just changed the whole dynamic of the day. Okay, 5 p.m., wake up. All right, you said you needed help with time management. There's a lot more hours in the day that exist. Okay, so what time are you eating?
Around 6, because it usually takes me an hour to get out of bed.
Okay. 6 p.m., food. And you said this is breakfast at 6 p.m.
This is AM. This is AM.
What?
This is in the AM, not the PM.
Oh, I thought you said p.m.
No, I said sorry.
I'm over here like, your Saturdays must be really fun. All right, 6 a.m., breakfast.
I'll probably do homework around 7:30 or 8 a.m.
All right. So, 7:30 a.m. All right.
And that's usually that's usually after lunch, so 1 p.m. at this point.
Okay. So, all right, sweet, good.
And then the food again is 5 p.m.
Cool. And this is dinner.
Yes.
5 p.m. All right.
And the sleep is around 10 p.m.
Sweet. All right, excellent. That's a good Saturday. So, and I'll put here fun and family. All right, sweet. So then Monday, what are we looking at?
I wake up at 5 a.m.
All right, very good. Boop.
Go to school at 6:15 a.m.
All right, no, okay, 6:15 a.m. Go to school. All right, cool. For some reason this is... okay, keep going.
Then I stay after school at 3 p.m.
So 3 p.m. is school ends?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's keep rolling here. I think you get the format.
Yeah. We at school at 4.
And that's for practice?
Eating at school, and then
you can keep going.
Oh, okay. Practice at 5:15 p.m.
This is band practice?
Yeah.
Great.
Then I go home and sleep.
Okay.
At 10:30.
10:50?
Yeah. Yes.
Sleep. Okay, so there's no eating. There's one time of eating food.
Well, yeah, I include in school.
Okay. So does this happen every day?
Tuesday on, I'll do homework at school that I didn't do the night before.
Okay. Is there does the Monday schedule happen like on Wednesday, or is this every day?
It happens on Thursday too.
Okay.
Sometimes Fridays.
Sometimes. Okay. So, what happens on Tuesdays? Is anything similar?
The wake up and go to school are the same.
Okay. School ends at
I do homework at school now.
Okay, so
At like 12:45. Gotta be PM, right? Yeah, PM. Do homework at school.
cool.
Then I go home at 3 p.m.
Okay, so I should let's see, split. And there should be a split row. Not happening. All right, let's try it in here. So here, go home.
Yeah.
At what time?
3 p.m.
3 p.m. Go home. All right.
And then I'll do the homework I got that day at like 4 p.m.
Cool.
And then I'll eat dinner at like 6.
6 p.m. Dinner. All right.
Yeah, I'll go to sleep at like 11.
All right, cool. So 11 p.m. Sleep. All right, and then Wednesday. So is band practice Monday, Thursdays, and then Friday is like football games?
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll talk about Friday in a second. But what's Wednesday look like?
I wake up at 6:30 p.m. I mean a.m.
Let's get. Wednesday. I'm just not feeling it on Wednesdays. Okay, so 6:30. So we're sleeping in.
Yes, because it's late start.
Okay.
So I'll eat breakfast.
So by the way,
Yeah.
the awkwardness of this whole situation is why a lot of people don't do this. But when we're done, it's going to be really awesome. So I'll show you.
So at 7 I'll eat breakfast.
All right. I can type and listen, by the way. So you just keep on going.
At like around 8:30 I go to school. And then I'll finish whatever homework I didn't finish the night before school starts.
And that's when?
Like around like 9. So give me a second.
Cool.
Then I go home at 3 again.
All right.
Yeah, and then I'll do homework and then dinner at 6, and then I go to sleep at 11.
All right. And Saturday.
Oh boy. Okay.
So is Saturday
so
just?
I basically have band all day, so I'll wake up at like 5 a.m.
Okay.
I'll get to band at like 7:45 a.m.
You got people knowing that's not true. 7:45.
And then I'm usually at band all day until and a 9. Something like that. 6? No. Like going up based on competition. Alright, it's like 1 in the morning.
Alright. 1 a.m.
And that's it. Die.
Okay. All right, let's not put that. We gotta keep it. Sweet. Okay.
Yep.
Well, that makes sense why you wake up at 5 p.m. on Sundays. Okay. So, what's your name?
Jaden. Jadon.
Jaden's crazy band schedule. Band life. Okay, so what you're trying to say to Mr. Barone is that you don't practice at all.
I do have section on Thursdays.
Okay.
I didn't add that.
There, not one time in this whole situation is there practice time. So, that's an issue. But
Yes.
that is why you rose your hand. Because I'm sure you're like, how is it possible for me to do things when my schedule looks like this? So you have to really think about opportunity, think about what you might have to adjust, and then figure out a way, even if it's a less time than what you really want, you have to find a way to get practice time into what you're doing. So let's start with Sunday. You wake up, you have breakfast. Something that you could do here is, so between 6 a.m. and 7:30 a.m., you could fit some practice time into here, even if it's just 30 minutes. So let's say from 6 to 7, you're eating breakfast and watching your YouTube thing that you like or whatever, and then at 7, set an alarm, and then from 7 to 7:30, practice. And it doesn't have to be insanity, just pick a skill set. If you have a practice journal, open your journal and just work on the thing that you wrote down. So this is practice. Boom. Then 7:30, like, and give yourself some rules. Like, okay, at 7:30, I'm gonna stop because this homework block is really important. So from 7:30 to 1, maybe, I'm sure there's some days where this goes way past the time, and there's other days where it ends early. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So in here, you could just write, practice potential. Okay? And then let's make all the practice times red. Boom. Boom. All right, we're doing good. This is more practice than we had before. All right, so 1 to 5, family time. I'm real big on family and real big on balance. So you got to make sure that you are putting in that time to have. If there's something that you really need work on, maybe this time could switch out for some practice time. And so Sunday, it looks like, there's some potential practice time to happen in here. So practice potential. And if you want to get real spunky with it, have whoever you're hanging out with be part of your practice time, which is not a joke. Like, hey, you want to hang out? Why don't you come on over? And they come over and you have all your stuff set up in the living room and you're like, guess what we're doing? You're going to watch me so I can have an audience and know what it feels like to play in front of someone who is, not my band friends. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that's completely not a joke. So, do you see how I'm systematically going through your schedule? and finding pockets where I can add practice. Right? So obviously, you know, we got like 10 minutes left. It would take us longer to go through and really formulate exactly where these pockets of practice could exist. And the first time you do this is not going to be the most perfect time, which, by the way, do you want me to send this to you?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I got you, dog. All right, let's get out of here. Okay. And we're back. All right, can you guys see me? What a journey. Everyone clap, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for participating on The Price is Practice. So, like, we obviously spent a lot of time on that, but, oh man, I can't even tell you. It's like, knowing what to practice in your practice sessions is super important, but understanding how to fit the practice time into your schedule is also really important. Cool. So you can either stay up here, you can go back. It's whatever you want to do. Okay. So the next part of this, well, are there any questions about that specifically? No? Everyone connected with that? That was good? All right, sweet. So the last thing that I want to talk about is tempo thresholds. And so we're just going to talk about literally what you do in your practice time. Cool. So let's do this. Let me get this set up real quick. Can you guys see the pad all right?
Yes.
All right. So now, if I'm practicing, and let's say I'm playing double stroke rolls, can you guys hear the metronome?
Yes.
So if I'm going, I have my metronome on, I have my subdivisions on the highest form of rhythmic value. So I'm playing 16th notes, 1 eanda, 2 eanda, 3 eanda, 4 eanda. So my metronome has 16th notes. So all of the partials are lining up with the metronome. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Right? So look at your music. What's the highest subdivision? And try to set your metronome to where it plays the highest subdivision. Because it doesn't matter if you line up your playing to the quarter note. Like, yeah, cool, I'm in time, great. All of the partials have to be rhythmically accurate. And that's where I find the biggest error. And that's what makes the difference between a good player and a great player is your ability to play all the partials in time, evenly spaced, rhythmically accurate. So now the tempo threshold is I'm at 100 beats per minute. Now I go to 105 and practice that for a long time. Now, you're marinating in these tempos. It's not, all right, cool, let me play it once and then move on. I'm talking about 100 reps, back to back. Stop. Write down what you notice. Look in the mirror. Record yourself. You're doing all the stuff we talked about today in that one tempo. Now I feel good. I feel ready to move on. Was at 105. Now I'm at 110. Same thing. 115. 120. $125. And as you bring the tempo up, you'll start to notice things like, okay, I came to this tempo, and my left hand is starting to crush. So let me write that down. What do I need to do? I need to open my left hand. So now I'm at 125. I'm experimenting with what that feels like. I'm opening, I'm closing, I'm really thinking about what I'm doing. Then, all right, cool, I just had 10 solid reps in a row. We're at 125. 130. Then 135, then 140, and eventually over time, and this is the biggest mistake that I see people make, is just blowing through these tempos. It might take you 2 weeks to go from 100 to 180 because you're really marinating in what you're playing. And that takes a lot of discipline, but that's the key, is it's a slow and steady progression until finally you're at 200. Which, now we're starting to get into show tempos. The last thing I have for you guys is take your tempos way past what you are expected to do. Expectations versus reality. You want the reality of your chops and what you're capable of to extend far past what you're being asked of. You don't want to be the person on the field struggling through your show or just barely making it or having a really strong beginning of the show and then a really weak closer because you're not in your practice time bringing yourself way past the threshold of what's expected. So if your show, what tempo is like the opener of your show? Nobody knows?
126.
126. So you're playing 126. You need to be practicing and understanding your parts at 140. And not that you want to like really try to rush and play through stuff. You have to understand the maturity of being able to play things at 126. But if your chops are capable of playing it faster with good quality, when you slow it back down, it's not as much of a difficult thing. And then it's slower and easier, and you're able to focus on quality, balance, and blend, and really getting a good visual performance quality out of your body and your marching and all the other things that you're expected to do. All right, cool. So thank you guys. That is...
It's 8 o'clock.
It's 8 o'clock. And there you go. Hopefully that helped you guys. Did you guys learn anything during that?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, sweet. It's really funny because... Oh, thank you. And then, like, I'm down to do a Q&A if you guys want. If you don't have time for that or you guys are good, then I do want to take a selfie, a grid book selfie with you guys, if that's all right. But I don't know, like, where are we at, Alan?
Does anyone have any questions? They want to ask?
What was the ensemble app you were talking about?
It's called Ensemble app. So if you go to the App Store, let me make sure it's still there because I downloaded it a long time ago. So I'm in the App Store. I have an iPhone, so I'm in the Apple store. I don't know. The store with apps. Ensemble app. So, okay, so it's called Ensemble Composer. And it's pretty cool. Like, you pick dots, and the dots will play rhythms, and you press play, and it goes like, and you're like, I didn't like that last part. I want to, okay, play. All right, cool, there it is. And you can do snare, tenor, bass, and cymbal in that app. And it spits out a track that you can play along to. MuseScore is another website that allows you to write music, and you write the music and then press play, and it will play back with like actual drum sounds too. So that's another one. But yes, thank God someone had a question. That's great. Yes. Next question. What's up?
Does Ensemble just work for those instruments?
You know, I'm not sure if there's a front ensemble. Is that what you're asking? Is there like a mallet version?
Yeah, or winds.
Or what?
Or winds.
For winds? I don't think the guy who made it is a percussion guy, so I don't know. Actually, if you're wanting to do it for winds, I would use MuseScore. Unless you have access to Sibelius, which, I mean, Sibelius is like the industry standard, but the MuseScore app will allow you to write horn parts, wind parts, and you can orchestrate it in pretty detailed ways, and then export MP3s and export PDFs. So if you want to write your own music, like, that's a really great platform to use. Plus, there's other people's scores. So, like, if you're, I know that a lot of people transcribe, like, the Blue Coat Show whole wind book, and you just go in and press play, and it has all the music, and it lines up with the MP3. So, Muse, M-U-S-E, score, S-C-O-R-E. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
All right, sweet. All right, any other questions?
Anyone?
Yeah, what's up?
If you play two instruments, should you split the day in half of like half the day I practice this instrument, the other half I practice that?
So what two instruments are you playing?
Bass drum and clarinet.
Oh, sweet. So, so that is up to you and how you prefer. That is kind of like reading two books at the same time. You know, it's all in English, but one book has a different like plot than the other. So you might want to be like, okay, today is my drumming day, and then tomorrow is my wind day. If you split them together, it's not, you know, like maybe that would help you. Maybe you're like, all right, cool, I'm going to get my rhythms really tight here, and then I'm going to transfer that rhythmic quality to the fingerings that I have over here. But for me personally, I like to really focus in on one thing. And so if I have two practice sessions within the day, I would personally rather have one day of this, the other day of that. So I would experiment. And a great way to experiment is take the map that we made earlier and write in clarinet practice this day and fill in those gaps. And then if you print those out, you can have a folder of them, and then maybe the next week you just go to the next and fill in something different. But test and learn. Test, learn, adjust. Test, learn, adjust. Test, learn, adjust. And that is how you'll find the most applicable answer to that question for you. Oh man, we should have done that the whole time. Oh, I guess you probably can't see me as well. You have been illuminated. All right. Any other questions?
That's good. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, sweet. Thank you guys so much. Oh, this is so cool. So I do this thing. It's called a grid book selfie, and anyone that I work with, I normally like to capture the moment. So if you guys want to crowd up and squat up to the camera, then I'll get a picture, and then we'll post it on the social medias. What? Oh, here, and I'm gonna turn it around. Okay. All right. We're doing pretty good. We got some people on the outside that are getting cut off. I don't know how we can. Is this good? Oh man. Let's see. We can get closer. Okay. All right. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1. All right, and so one more. I do a video selfie where we're all going crazy, which is like a thing that I do with everybody too. So I'm gonna say 3, 2, 1, and then just like you're at a concert, like, and then it's a really funny clip thing that happens. All right, so here we go. Ready? This is the crazy grid book selfie, and 3, 2, 1. All right, sweet. All right, let me make sure. That's what we got. All right, sweet. And then, we're friends now. All right, so I'll post that later on the Instagrams. And, you know, if you were a part of this today and you want to stay connected, like, hit me up in the DMs on Gridbook and I'll follow you. And then, you know, I'll just be like, what's up? I remember you. And any questions that you guys ever have, like, hit me up. That's what we're all about at Gridbook, is helping you. And we're just a resource, so reach out.
Got it.
Thank you.
All right, sweet. Thank you guys so much. All right, have a great day.
Thanks, man.
Dude, thank you, man. This was fantastic.
Yeah, always a pleasure. Once you get something,
All right, sounds good. Later, bro.